Welcome to my channel, detailing events throughout the decades. 2000. Childers Palace Backpackers Hostel Fire. The Palace Backpackers Hostel was a 100-year-old, two-story building, located in Queensland, Australia. In March 2000, Robert Long booked into the hostel, joining around 80 other residents, many of which were young international travellers making their way around Australia. Robert was given room number 12 to stay in, and he was found work nearby as a fruit picker. It was reported that he spent a lot of his time in the pub drinking and complaining about his fellow travellers. He had expressed a real hatred for the other backpackers and had even threatened to burn down the hostel. People who he spoke to just thought he was ranting, and didn't really take him seriously. He often complained that he didn't fit in, and no one showed him any respect. It wasn't until June 14 that he left the hostel. It was on June 22 that Robert was reported to have stood outside the hostel with two other residents chatting. He apparently told them that before he handed the keys back to the hostel, he had made a copy of them. It in the early hours of the morning of June 23 that the fire was believed to have started. It was thought to have started in the downstairs recreation room. It wasn't long before fire swept through the building. Residents were woken up by banging and shouting, and then encountered thick black smoke. One survivor and his girlfriend crawled along the floor, banging on the residents' doors, desperately trying to alert them of the fire. The building did not have working smoke detectors or fire alarms. Guests made their way onto the balcony where they waited to be rescued by firefighters, while other people jumped onto the roofs of surrounding buildings trying to save themselves. The fire raged for around 4 hours before it was finally extinguished. The worst of the damage was on the top floor, where the fire had gutted rooms in just 15 minutes. Around 70 backpackers managed to escape the fire, but sadly, 15 backpackers perished in the fire. It was thought that they had been located on the second floor of the hostel. Identification of those who had perished was hard to determine, due to the fact that the hostel register only recorded those people who had checked in, but not those who had departed. Along with this, most of the residents' passports were either damaged or destroyed by the fire. Among those who had died in the fire were 7 British backpackers, 3 Australian, 2 from the Netherlands, 1 from Ireland, 1 from Japan and 1 from South Korea. After the fire, the nearby residents supplied blankets and food to the survivors. A picnic bench located in front of the hostel was used as a makeshift memorial, with people leaving flowers and notes for those who had died. On July 2, Princess Anne visited the area to meet survivors of the fire. During the investigation into the fire, it was found that a room where 10 people were found, had a bunk bed blocking the exit door, and the windows had been barred, leaving those inside no hope of survival. It was also found that Robert Long had been responsible for starting the fire. Robert Long was arrested and charged with the fire. In March 2002, he was charged with only 2 counts of murder and arson. He was sentenced to life in prison. He had only been charged with 2 deaths in order to expedite the proceedings and allow for other charges to be brought against him in the event of an acquittal. It was on October 26, 2002 that around 250 guests, including family members of those who had died, attended the official opening of the Palace Backpackers Hostel, which had been renovated and restored back to its original 1900s style. It was opened as a memorial to those who had been in the fire that day. A 25-foot-long glass memorial wall was set into the new building, along with a portrait of those who had died in the fire. Forever remembering those who died that day, and all those who were affected. May you always be remembered. Thank you for watching and learning about these tragic events throughout history. Please subscribe to my channel to view other events throughout the decades.